I'm scared. I'm scared most days of my life, but I'm very scared standing on this red dot with a big spotlight. Last week, I've been really busy before then, and last week it suddenly dawned on me that I'd said yes to this. And I thought, what the hell have you done? And there's nothing like a TED Talk to make you think, I haven't got anything to say about anything at all in my life. And the panic started to rise, and I spent 2 sleepless nights thinking about excuses that I'll give to the planning team of why I couldn't do it today. And I wrote a few gentle, I'm petrified, I haven't really got anything to say, you could get someone else in. To which they kept replying, we are happy to welcome you to the TEDx talk next week, and here's the draft program. And I wrote another one, and again, we are happy to welcome you to the TEDx talk and to have you as a guest. So I thought, right, I'm going to Google, which is always a bad mistake, TEDx talks. And so I started watching the slick, well-presented people with amazing theories on life, and it totally freaked me out. So then I put in top tips for TED talkers, which was also a really bad mistake. One of them was talk like you've got half a plum in your mouth. Don't use a really strong accent. Don't wave your hands about or jiggle. And the other one, which was really scary, was make sure that the top of your tongue doesn't touch the top of your mouth because it'll sound terrible. The fear of God was within me. So I thought, right, I'll turn to my friends. So I texted some of my friends with a long reasoned thing about, I'm petrified, can you help me? What shall I do? To which they all replied, oh, just be yourself, it'll be fine. I was like, thanks for that, friends. Really well thought out answers. So I got about 20 texts with, just be yourself, which is the hardest thing to just come and be. And the poet David White says, that's why we say, go break a leg, because it's easier than being on stage and just being yourself. So then I texted someone else who's in the audience today, but I won't name and shame. And I said, I'm really going to pull out. I really can't do this. My anxiety is sky high. And she pulled 2 great manipulative tricks on me. First, she said, oh, but it's all about the students. And they need courageous people to step up, but don't worry if you can't do it. I was like, oh, she's going to get me. Then she said, it's International Women's Day too, and we need strong women up there who are brave enough to be courageous. And there she got me. So thank you to the manipulation that got me here today. And so here I am, scared and wobbly. What really got me here today is my belief that even if we're not slick, even if we're ragged round the edges and wobbly and frightened, even if we haven't got a theory or an answer or a solution, that our stories matter and that we should get up and stand up even if we're petrified, which I am. So here I am. So I've got a story, like all Scousers have stories. I've got a few. And my story involves a motley crew of amazing people, which I'm going to introduce you to a few of them today. And like all the best stories, it starts with drama and tragedy usually. So about 5 years ago, I had a really bad breakdown. And it was caused, in part, lots of different things and childhood stuff, but I had a really bad breakup. And the only good thing, I hope they're watching now, but the only good thing that ex did for me was to buy me a boa of gorgeousness, which when we split up, I hung it on the back of my bedroom door, and every time I went past it, I wailed, like, oh, I can't believe it's over, oh. And every time I went past that, I felt such sadness, until I renamed it the boa of gorgeousness, and decided that it would help me recover to wrap this round myself and feel comforted by it, and that I would use it with all the groups that I worked with. So the boa, unlike me, has been waiting to get on a TED Talk all its life. So I had this really difficult, breakdown, and I was so scared. I didn't know if I could make it through the night. I was just really frightened. I was frightened of dying. And I was frightened that I wouldn't die and I'd survive and then I'd have to carry on. And I was advised to go to A&E because I was in such a bad state. And I struck gold because I was sent to a doctor at the end of her shift, a junior doctor, and she said, "Tell me your story." What great words are they? And I told her everything that had happened, and she said that she was sorry that all that had happened. And she said, "I'm going to give you 2 options." She said, "Option 1 is I can call the crisis mental health team because you're certainly in bad enough a state." She said, "And then we'll start all that process." She said, "Or I can give you 5 diazepam because they've got a high street value, so you can only have 5 of them. And I'm going to ask you to go home, wrap yourself in your duvet, and watch Harry Potter movies from beginning to end. And remember that we all have a courageous story." So I chose the diazepam, which were great, and Harry Potter, and I went home. But I needed to find a more long-term solution, and I was just desperate. So I leant back on what had always saved me in my life, which was painting and creativity and expressing myself. And I started to paint these big life-size self-portraits. And with each of these self-portraits that I painted, bits of myself started to come back. So the wild, sensual warrior in me began to come back. The brave, courageous one, the sensual one, the one who believed in life and the one who could rise like a phoenix. And all these amazing paintings started to fill the house, and I started to feel a bit better. Good enough to have visitors to the house. And so some women that I'd worked with over the years came to visit me, and they brought their dairy milk and their grapes and everything. And they were looking at the walls and they said, "These paintings are amazing. We've always wanted to paint on a canvas, but we wouldn't know where to start." And they said, "Will you teach us how to paint self-portraits?" And I said, "I'm having a breakdown." And they said, "We don't care if you're having a breakdown. We could come to you with big canvases and you could show us. We'll come next week." And I was thinking, oh God. And so they turned up, but there was about 10 of them the first week. And we started painting, and as we were painting, we started to tell our stories. One woman was getting divorced, and she used her tears to paint on the canvas. Another young woman was painting big rainbows everywhere, trying to tell us that she wanted to come out, but she didn't have the words. I only live in a tiny house. By week 8, there was 40 women crushed in my house. Some were in the toilet, some were in the bathroom, some were in the yard. There was paint all over the house, and it's still there. This is them in my bedroom, which is me. It helps massage my ego that there were so many women in my bedroom. And at the end of it, we had these amazing paintings, lots of beautiful paintings, and we'd healed through connecting and sharing and telling our stories. And I said to the women, "So what should we do with the paintings now? Should we have a little exhibition?" And they said, "Claire, what about the Tate Gallery?" And I was like, "You can only get in the Tate if you're dead and male." And they said, "You said anything in life is possible, so can you get us in the Tate?" So I went to the Tate wobbling the first time I'd left the house and tried to speak to someone. I went back 3 times until they ushered me in and asked what I had to say. And by some magic miracle that happens sometimes in life, the woman said, "Yes, we've got a spare gallery for 2 weeks in the summer. You can have it, but let's think about I was already out the door. I was on the mobile to the women. "We're in the Tate. I can't believe it." And we were so excited that we got in the Tate Gallery with our first exhibition. So we thought 40 women sounds absolutely crap. So let's get 100 women and their self-portraits. Let's go to women who can't leave the house because they're too scared, or they've got dementia, or they're young girls in care homes. And we thought, we need some lolly to do this. So we rang this number of the NHS who had some funding, and we said, "We're housewives." I'm not a housewife, I've never been a housewife. "We're 100 housewives, and we're all recovering from depression, and we need some money." And they said, "Just leave this with us." Everybody loves the story. And they came back with £30,000, to which we said, "Yes, loads of paint, loads of glitter. We're going to go for it." So we got our own PR company, who got us on Women's Hour. And it was brilliant, the excitement up to it. We went into a secure unit and worked with women there, and everybody's stories, we were all just together telling our stories, and it was beautiful. The women from the secure unit got Home Office release to come to the exhibition at the Tate. One of them said to me on her way up, "I've wet myself in reception." I was so excited. And I said, "It's an installation, darling, it's fine." And this is some of the women from the secure unit painting my face. It was absolutely chaos. I think my little squishy's clicking for me. So we were in the Tate and we took it over. It was like a women's refuge. It was fabulous. We paid someone to hang the art professionally. We had 100 life-size self-portraits. Women from around the world sent their bras in to go on our fireplace as an installation. And people started saying to me, "I want to tell my story. I want to paint my portrait. I need to heal from things. Will you come into our school? Will you come into our community?" And so I was still having a breakdown, but I didn't have time to have a breakdown. This is some of the beautiful artwork as it was hanging up in the Tate. And in the Tate Gallery, amazing things happened. So men came in and sat on the floor, told us stories of their mums who'd had depression. A school came in, and all the lads ran in and went, "Miss, there's boobs in here, and it's great, get in here." It was really fabulous. And after that, we got invited to Knowsley to do 100 Women in Knowsley Create. Then we did, with the help of a brilliant youth organisation called Knowsley Youth Mutual, 100 Little Sisters Create. Big love, Little Sister. They were great. They were like, I'm not doing this. It's so scary. And you're just a big hippie, and I'm not just doing it." And then they just really got into it and started telling the stories of their lives. They painted the Facebook goddess. The goddess of being a little girl kitten. All these tough girls just softened and started telling their stories. We decided that it was great working with women who were in recovery and may have had some damage in their life, but what about women leaders? Why not all stand together and paint our portraits? So we worked with the leader of the council, we worked with MPs, we worked with senior police women. They were all very scared doing their portraits. It was a great leveller, because once you're in front of that canvas, it's as scary for anyone to know what to do next. So we were all just women in it together. One day, a group came in to finish their paintings, and one of the women who was unemployed and being really depressed and thought nothing of herself said to this woman next to her, "Can I help you? You look a bit stuck." And the woman said, "I am stuck. I don't know what to do in the sky." She said, "Well, I think you need to do a bit of that and this and that." I said, "Oh, yeah. And I said, "Do you know who you've just advised there? The director of the Tate." So, creativity in our stories are a great leveller. There were so many threads of connection, so many paths that connected us together. Somehow, I got invited to the International Policewomen's Convention. They'd heard about the Bower of Gorgeousness and the paintings, and they wanted some of it. So we took the bower, and we ended up with all the policemen in Cardiff wrapped in the bower, calling themselves. They wanted to do a calendar called Boys in the Bower. And I was still having a breakdown, and I was still thinking, how did I ever get here? We set up as a social enterprise, and we called ourselves Big Love Sister, because that's what I say when I say goodbye to someone. I say, "Big Love Sister." And tomorrow, we're taking on 2 new staff, our first staff, giving people jobs in our organisation. The lads who were watching the girls create their portraits said to us, "Yeah, well, it's all right doing it with the girls, but what about us?" And I thought, what about you? And so, again, with the help of Knowsley Youth Mutual, we created Big Love, My Brother. And people said it won't work with men, it's a women's thing. And we had the Deputy Chief of Police from Liverpool, we had finance managers, we had solicitors, and they all painted their portraits with the lads. And what I've learned is that we can, when we tell our stories and when we stand up with each other, we can learn so much. We all have these roles. We're a director or a professor or a chief of police or an MP. Or we could be a lad in care, Or we could be a woman with depression or in a secure unit. But we've all got stories, whether they're tragic or amazing or joyful. And when we get together and let those roles go and just share our stories, there's big healing when we stand together. So, what I want to scarily do, which might all go on its head, is say to you, this is the scariest place to stand when you're standing alone. And I really, really know what it is to stand alone in a scary place, in a spotlight. But we don't have to stand alone. By sharing bits of our stories, we can be together and we can wobble forward, even if we're petrified together. So what I'm asking you is, if you've ever had a night that you think, I'm not going to get through this night, it's so dark, would you stand up with me? Have you ever had a night that you think you might not get through? Would you come and stand on the stage with me so I'm not alone? Look at us, there's so many of us. Wrap yourselves in the boa. And if you've never had a night that you thought you wouldn't get through, but you've been in love, has anyone been in love? Then you better get on the stage too. It's big enough for everyone. Have you ever had great sex? If you've had none of those other things, then you come and join us too. That's better, yeah? It's better together. Come on, lovely. It's better together. It's better when we're just real. It's better when we share our stories. It's better when we walk on the path together and not alone. And it's better when we're real, even if it's wobbly. So, all I can say is big love, brothers and sisters, and let's just keep wobbling forward into the future. Yeah. Thank you for being brave. Now you've all done a TEDx talk.